I'm gonna show you a side-by-side comparison of Elden Ring and Horizon Forbidden West, and I don't think there is any comparison between the two games. And if anybody looks at the two games just passively and says, "Hey, this game is on par with this game," I don't think so. I totally understand the user scores for these games, which users actually are rating Horizon Forbidden West as an 8 out of 10 and Elden Ring as a 7 out of 10. But the the critic scores a 9.5 for Elden Ring, a 9 for, or little under 9 for Horizon. I think that is what's kind of irks people. It's not that Elden Ring's not a solid game. I think it probably is a solid game. It's an enjoyable game. But boy, I mean, if you don't have to look very hard into Elden Ring to see why it's just not of the same quality. And to be honest, I think it's just like a problem with the review system. So we'll look at the reviews in a second, but there's a lot fewer reviews for Elden Ring. The only people that are willing to play Elden Ring are From Software junkies in terms of the critics community. I think if Elden Ring were so much better than Horizon Forbidden West, that would show up in the not in the critic scores but in the gamer scores. And I think we really kind of have a situation that kind of we had with Cyberpunk, was that the critics were way out of step with their initial ratings of Cyberpunk compared to what the gameplay actually was and what the experience actually was for gamers, right? And so, when Cyberpunk came out, I said, I'm not playing it day one. It's not that good. It was okay. I ended up playing it later on, but the hype was too big. And I think the hype is way too big for Elden Ring. And we've had a month of this, and the user scores are just not getting better for Elden Ring. They're not going to the 9s and 10s. It'll be a big achievement if they go to 75 user score. But you just can see why. I mean, you got these old menus for Elden Ring. Horizon Forbidden West is just probably the best graphics of any game ever made, even. And it is just there's like no voice acting within Elden Ring. There's very little. I mean, there's very, very little. There's very little things you can do in Elden Ring. You can't ride a claw strider. You can't fly on a glider. You can't fly on a sunwing. Even taking account that you're gonna die a lot more in Elden Ring, and it's gonna be a punishing experience. That's fine, but I just think if it's gonna be perfect, it needs to have a perfect comparison in terms of the graphics versus everything else. And it needs to be perfect in terms of all kinds of other mechanisms, like the voice acting, which there is almost none of. It needs to be perfect in terms of the combat system. So I'm trying to cast spells in this thing, and the spells are going in random directions. Right? The movements of the characters are kind of janky compared to what Aloy's movements are here in Horizon Forbidden West. Right? So when these kind of practice dummy opponents, right here, you can see how janky the movements are of the character when they're slashing. Right? And they're kind of reminiscent of the Witcher 3, or I'm sorry, the Witcher 1 graphics from 2008. So in the middle, we've got the Witcher 1 gameplay. This is from 2008. You can see kind of the similarities in terms of the set design, the interior of the dungeon space. If you do go through the character creator, you'll see that the characters look pretty similar. They look more similar to what you would see in Witcher 1 versus what you would see in Horizon Forbidden West in terms of the quality of the characters and the rendering of them. So we're about a month out from the release of both these games, and the common platforms they share is the PS5 and PS4, right? And the PS5 is basically the best platform in terms of user scores for Elden Ring. It's a 7.9 compared to 8.1 user score for Horizon Forbidden West. And you won't, the critics, there are only 76 critic reviews for Elden Ring on PS5, but 121 on Horizon Forbidden West on PS5. So I think that one thing that it just jumps out to you is that there's a smaller subset of reviewers giving higher scores. And I kind of found that I wanted to do the network test for Elden Ring. I always want to do the demos of potential games that I like. I'm a big fan of George R.R. Martin, so I was wanted to give Elden Ring a try, and I might still cover that game at some point. I said I wouldn't cover Cyberpunk. I might cover Elden Ring. I ended up covering Cyberpunk because there just may not be any good games out for a long time. But I wasn't a day one coverage because I was kind of shut out of the network test. I didn't get a review copy. And I think the only people that are getting review copies are people that are super From Software fans. The only people let into the network test are super From Software fans. So in that sense, I think it's kind of biased, and it's going to be reflected in the user scores. And really, the user scores are way lower for all other platforms for Elden Ring. We'll look at the PS4 user scores between the two. Okay, you can see the similar situation is going out here, except that the user scores are lower. Horizon Forbidden West is a 7.1 user score, and Elden Ring is a 6.8 on the PS4. And no critics played Elden Ring on the PS4, which is kind of that's the Cyberpunk problem, that they didn't play on the last gen consoles, and the last gen experience is not as good as the next gen or this gen experience, and so the critics start out with kind of the best possible view. Okay, so here's the PC user scores, right? And the PC user scores for Elden Ring are 6.7, which is, it's solid, but it's not, hey, oh my goodness, this is the best game ever made. And reportedly, this is in large part because of the technical problems of frame rate drops and inconsistent frame rates that you're seeing on that platform relative to the PS5. Nevertheless, a lot is made of the concurrent users on Steam, and no doubt Elden Ring has been a commercial success, and I think part of that is not the word of mouth, but I think that helps. Some people really do like the game, but has been the inflated Metacritic scores, or the critical scores. The Xbox Series X scores are a bit better, 7.5 user score for Horizon, or for Elden Ring. But when we go to the last gen console with the Xbox One, we're looking at a user score of 6.3. And, I think that's the issue, is that it's not playing well on most platforms besides the PS5. its user scores are mid sixes to low sevens, and the PS5 is only the one where the user score gets close to 0.8. And maybe that's going to improve over time. Maybe they're going to fix their bugs, but if they come out with an incomplete game that's not performing well on most platforms, is that a 10 out of 10? I would say no, that's not a 10 out of 10, even if it's a perfect game. But as you can see, it doesn't seem like it is a perfect game. The graphics do seem like PS3 graphics, definitely not PS5 graphics when we're talking about Elden Ring. Anyways, let me know what you think in the comments. I'm not saying I won't play Elden Ring through. I might. I just might, because I think we might have a weak year. But while I've got Quest to play and Horizon Forbidden West, why would I want to play Elden Ring? Subscribe to the Linus Wilson channel. We give you the secrets to crush Horizon Forbidden West. Let me know what you think of Elden Ring and why you think it's better or worse.